Maryland had more free African Americans than any other state from 1810 through the Civil War. As the Civil War came to an end, the War Department established the Freedmen's Bureau, and the Bureau was to oversee all relief and educational activities for refugees and freedmen, in addition to other things. And Leonard, Maryland, on August 29th, 1867, 1,200 people of color and 100 white people gathered to hear officers of the Freedmen's Bureau and Baltimore Association um, to preach about the values of education and inspire the people to build schools. Um, White supremacy, however, was blatant at the meeting and in the town. And at the end of the Civil War, Maryland state legislators established laws governing public education. Um, for Black people, funding came from property taxes from their schools, and it was a duty of county commissioners to check up on the schools. The big problem was that a lot of African Americans owned property at the time, who didn't own property at the time. So a lot of the tax money went to white schools. And by 1874, there were 12 schools in the county for African Americans.
In 1954, the Supreme Court ruled that separate schools were unequal. 10 years after Brown, we see that 90% of Black students are still in Black schools. Many governors didn't enforce desegregation, and thus 1964 school districts were forced to face integration, or they could have lost their funding by not integrating. Over 30,000 Black teachers lost their jobs during desegregation, something that we're still seeing the impact of today with a shortage of Black teachers in classrooms. In 1988, schools reached a high integration with 45% of Black students attending majority white schools. Note the year 1988 was when we had peak integration, not now. So it seems that things have regressed. No longer are we at peak integration at a time where it seems inclusion is something that we need, something that we're still striving for. We've kind of fallen into isolating ourselves, and Black and white families are more likely to move or finish schools where they are the majority race.
The school opened in May of 1887. Its opening in May was intentional because the school year in public schools for children of color was generally shorter than the white public schools. Opening in May gave the children of color an opportunity to attend a full school year. After 1894, however, St. Indigo's disappeared from Hoffman's Catholic director. Its lost documentation can be shown today because the land where the school once stood has no markings commemorating what was once there, and the land has fallen into despair. Initially known as the St. Inigo's Beneficial Society or the St. Inigo's Colored Parochial School, in 1880 the school became known as the Knights of St. Jerome. As it was originally a social hall in 1880, the building began operating as a school in 1887. The school was believed to be in operation until around 1887 at the latest. Today, the building still stands but is no longer a school. Instead, it functions as a hall for weekly bingo or will host other social events. The Scotland one-room schoolhouse operated as a school for African American students from 1871 to around 1940. Because it was made of pine, it was often referred to as Tall Pines or the Pine Schoolhouse. It is no longer standing, most likely due to its previously unstable architecture. The Cardinal Gibbons Institute was founded on the combination of the Tuskegee-style industrial, agricultural education, and Catholic education all in one. When the institution opened, there had been no public high school for African Americans in St. Mary's County. Thanks to the Harlem Renaissance, the school's art education used African American literature, history, and music as their foundations for teaching. The institute also made health and agricultural education a priority. The school also taught its students that the denial of civil rights and justice had a direct impact on physical, mental, and spiritual health for African Americans. Unfortunately, the school closed in 1934 due to lack of funding. From 1750 to 1815, the field that the Jamie L. Roberts Stadium currently stands on was home to 3 or 4 enslaved households. In 2016, St. Mary's College of Maryland archaeologists found fragments of brick, ceramics, tobacco pipes, and bottled glass suggesting where these families' cabins had once stood. The families labored for John Hicks and John Mackle. In 1817, 150 to 200 enslaved men gathered at a dram shop or tavern near St. Inigo's. Locals constable attempted to break up their gathering. However, the men had resisted and melee ensued. The commemorative today stands as a reminder for those here in St. Mary's and in all of Southern Maryland of the unfinished work of the American Revolution and the African role in the struggle for freedom for all.